I know you don't. I know you don't. I know.
King Harris's legal troubles recently took a serious turn after Tiny served T.I. with divorce papers. The reason? She couldn't stand the fact that T.I. disowned King following his latest arrest. What's surprising, though, is that T.I. isn't even fighting the divorce or trying to make things right. Now, the entire situation has become so messy that everyone in the family is pointing fingers at each other. The tension is tearing them apart, and people are wondering who's really to blame. The parents who gave King everything they could, or King himself, who threw it all away just to live a so-called gangster lifestyle. Tiny and T.I. splitting up might come as a shock to many. After all, they've been together for decades and have gone through nearly everything side by side. But the truth is, there had always been cracks in their marriage. The breaking point came in October 2024, right after King's reckless arrest put the whole family back in the spotlight. King had been driving his BMW out of a gas station, speeding and driving recklessly as usual, when he nearly collided with a police car. The timing couldn't have been worse, because what the officers found after pulling him over made things 10 times worse. When the cops approached the car, they immediately smelled weed. Then they spotted a gun tucked into his pants. At that point, things were already looking bad for King. They confiscated the gun and placed him in handcuffs. But when they ran his name, what popped up truly blew everything wide open. An outstanding warrant from 2022 for speeding, driving on a suspended license, and a DUI. All bad news.
Think I ain't spoke to my son. Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas.
He could have slipped away that day if he had just played it cool. But instead, all his past mistakes came crashing down at once. And the moment the arrest footage leaked online, the internet tore him apart. One thing was clear from that video: King knew he had finally crossed the line. He didn't break down or crash out during the 30-minute clip, but you could see the regret in his eyes. It was like he knew the only way to make things even slightly better was to cooperate. And for someone like King, that probably took a lot of restraint. We've all seen how he acts out in public, but this video showed a completely different side of him. Even the arresting officer was impressed by how calm King stayed through it all. Still, that didn't help his case. He ended up in DeKalb County Jail before being transferred to Pickens County after the warrant was recalled. Once the video went viral, fans didn't hold back in the comments. One person called him a trust fund prison punk, and that comment racked up thousands of likes because people found it hilarious. Another person blasted him, saying he thought his parents' money could save him, yet he wanted to act like he came from nothing. But here's the thing. King wasn't the only one paying the price. The fallout didn't just hit him, it tore straight through his parents' marriage. Turning those cracks we mentioned earlier into a full-blown collapse, T.I. tried to act like the heartbroken dad, but Tiny was furious, and she had receipts to prove it. In her divorce filings, she flat out listed King's downward spiral as the reason she was done. Surprisingly, T.I. didn't fight back or even try to fix things. As far as he was concerned, he had done his duty as a father, and King had no one to blame but himself for his troubles. Harsh as that may sound, there's truth to it. Back in 2022, when King first started going viral, T.I. went online and publicly begged him to slow down. He warned that King was heading down a dangerous path and that if he wasn't careful, he'd end up behind bars. T.I. even mentioned that he had told Tiny and King's grandmother the same thing, that they all needed to keep an eye on King before he threw his life away. And T.I. wasn't just speaking as a concerned parent. He was speaking as someone who had been to jail himself, someone who knew the cost and didn't want to see another young man fall into the same trap.
Going to prison.
I said a while ago when T.I.'s son King was getting a lot of flack and a lot of heat in the media, that to me...
However, Tiny wasn't buying it. In fact, it only gave her more ammunition against T.I. in the divorce. She claimed that T.I. hadn't fulfilled his role as a father, and that if he had been more present and firm with King, their son wouldn't have strayed so far from the right path. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. T.I. was in and out of prison from the time Tiny discovered she was pregnant with King. By the time he was finally released for good, King had already grown up without a consistent father figure. Even after T.I. returned home, his presence didn't make much of a difference, because he allegedly sent King to live with his grandmother. King once revealed that, despite his parents' wealth, he didn't grow up with much money since he lived at his grandma's house. In fact, the only times he was allowed to visit his parents' home were when they were filming their reality TV show. With a family environment like that, it's not surprising that King began searching for attention and distractions elsewhere. And with every stunt he pulled, he edged closer to a future behind bars. One particular incident that showed just how bad things had gotten was his infamous Waffle House outburst in 2022. It all started when one of the employees accidentally added pickles to King's order, something he hadn't asked for. That small mistake was all it took for King to explode into a screaming match with the worker. He even recorded the entire ugly altercation and posted it online. But instead of making him look tough, the video only made him appear spoiled and entitled, and it left people questioning why T.I. was allowing his son to spiral out of control.
Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it, because I know that energy.
So, when T.I. made that video warning King, it only made Tiny even angrier. In her eyes, all that warning and guidance should have happened years ago, not when things had already spiraled out of control. For a while, things seemed to cool down between them. But T.I. couldn't hide his disappointment in King for long. That tension eventually boiled over during an Atlanta Falcons game, where father and son got into an argument that quickly turned physical. It all started when King made some comments about not growing up with privilege, comments that instantly set T.I. off. He stepped in to correct his son, reminding him that he had literally been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But King wasn't having it. Within moments, the disagreement escalated into a full-blown fight. As seen in the viral clip, the altercation was intense, so much so that it looked like T.I. was ready to forget this was his son and actually knock the lights out of him.
This ain't so a restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you. I ain't tripping. Get the hell out of my face. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
The clip racked up thousands of likes within hours of hitting the internet, with many people praising T.I. for finally disciplining King. Comments flooded in saying things like, "He should have busted his behind," and "That's an overdue library book, and when you don't check the problem, it eventually turns on you." Others wrote, "King's been out of control. Pray for their family." However, Tiny didn't share that sentiment. She was furious, not just about the fight itself, but because she felt T.I. had humiliated King in public. Her anger only grew when she got home and discovered that T.I. had kicked King out of the house, telling him to figure out how to survive on his own. To Tiny, that was going too far. The fallout from that decision caused a deep rift in their relationship, one that ultimately pushed her to cut T.I. off completely. In her divorce papers, Tiny didn't hold back. She cited T.I.'s constant cheating and violent past as major reasons for ending their marriage. For years, she had watched him step out on her, then try to convince her that he was changing. But the lies piled up, and by the time King spiraled into his own chaos, Tiny wasn't just angry at her son, she was angry at the man who raised him. It hit her hard that the cycle had never been broken. And that's why she finally decided to walk away. What truly broke Tiny was realizing that King wasn't carving his own path. He was following in T.I.'s footsteps. The same jail stints that once built T.I.'s tough guy image were now becoming the exact blueprint King was crashing into. So when T.I. disowned King after his arrest, Tiny snapped. To her, it felt like he wasn't just rejecting their son, he was disowning his own reflection. That's why those divorce papers hit the table. You can see how desperate King is for his father's approval in the way he constantly flashes guns online. In fact, after that arrest footage went viral, some people speculated that King deliberately walked into the situation just to get arrested and hoping to build his street credibility and earn the respect he's been chasing for years. Others believed he had finally proven himself as a real one, achieving the rugged image he'd been trying to live up to. Some even said King's reckless behavior was nothing more than a cry for his father's attention, and in a way, it worked. Remember when T.I. and Boosie had to check their sons on camera? King and Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, were filming a music video, but instead of focusing on the shoot, they were busy showing off guns like they were in a trap house. That's when the dad stepped in. You could hear the disappointment in T.I.'s voice as he confronted King, asking why he was so obsessed with acting tough, especially when there were women around. It turned into a full-on lecture. T.I. made it clear that one wrong move, one illegal weapon, could ruin their entire lives. He and Boozy weren't joking, and you could see just how serious they were in that moment.
In my life. Nigga, you did have a silver spoon. Look, used to have to come to my grandma's house because I'm getting in the fight.
You cried like a baby to go to your grandma's house.
Every day.
On the surface, it looked like T.I. was genuinely trying to make his son understand that the path he was on would only lead him straight to jail. But when Tiny found out what had happened, she wasn't impressed. She was furious. She was angry that T.I. had put their son's business out there for the whole world to see. And it wasn't because she approved of King's behavior, the gun flashing, the tough guy persona, or the reckless lifestyle. Her frustration came from the fact that, in her eyes, T.I. was years too late. King was simply mirroring what he'd seen his father do all along. But the moment that finally made Tiny snap was when King's baby mama drama hit the spotlight, when T.I. appeared on a podcast and casually announced that he was about to become a grandfather again, revealing that King was having a child. Tiny couldn't believe her ears. To her, it sounded like T.I. was celebrating or even endorsing their son's behavior, when in reality, the whole situation was deeply troubling and far more complicated than he made it seem.
To hold your breath.
I know you. You capping. I know you.
Rumors quickly began to swirl about King's baby mama, Big Nana. Many claimed she was significantly older than him, and some even suggested that she got involved with King just to secure a bag, while he was too young and naive to realize it. But King didn't care. Not one bit. He was over the moon about the news and eager to step into the role of fatherhood. When their son was born in November 2024, King couldn't contain his excitement. He fully embraced being a dad, proudly posting pictures and bragging about his baby across social media.
So I got 2 grandchildren now.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, I got 2 granddaughters. I got a grandson on the way.
Wow.
King's about to have a son.
King's about to have a son. Congrats.
Yeah. And I told him I'm gonna make this the greatest gangster of all times.
King even released a track called Dear Son, where he rapped about stepping up as a dad. He captioned the post, November 5th, 8:09 a.m. Welcome King Jr., time to take over. For a brief moment, it actually looked like King was ready to change, like fatherhood was grounding him and teaching him a new kind of patience. For Tiny, the best part was seeing her son being a present father, seemingly breaking the cycle and correcting the mistakes his own father made when he was a baby. But of course, the timing couldn't have been worse. While King was online playing the proud dad, his arrest video was making the rounds again, a harsh reminder that his troubles were far from over. Through it all, T.I. tried to show support, but he couldn't fully hide his disappointment. And for Tiny, that was unforgivable. She might have overlooked his other flaws. But the fact that T.I. was so ashamed of their son that he didn't even want to live under the same roof with him, that broke her completely. So when the divorce papers finally landed, it wasn't shocking. It was the last blow in a marriage that had been crumbling for years. Now, Tiny's done. She's not hiding. She's not making excuses. She's not covering for him anymore. The only question left is, what does T.I. do next? Because if he stays silent the way he has with King, this family might already be beyond repair.